When I was growing up, oh geez, when I was growing up, I shouldn't start a homily with those words. But anyway, I can remember that inevitably when we heard this gospel on the second Sunday of Easter, almost always the priest that was preaching, he would use it as an explanation of the sacrament of penance. He would use it as, kind of the justification. And he talked about the church having the power to forgive, and those words, whose sins you forgive are forgiven them, and whose sins you retain are retained. And it just seemed to me that it was kind of a defensive stance. It was kind of a narrow position that forgiveness is something that is given only to the church in an official sense. And the church has to guard it. And the church has to give it out only very, very sparingly. When in fact, the opposite is true. If in fact we are talking about the mercy and the forgiveness of God, it's got to be, and we've got to remember that it needs to be doled out by the bucketful. God is far more generous with his mercy than Deacon Malherbe and I are with the water on Sundays. Mercy, forgiveness is something that God wants us to have in abundance. And the longer I'm a priest, the longer I talk to people or hear their confessions, the more I come to see how much we need to know that we are forgiven, and even more so, how much we need to forgive. It's amazing how much pain so many of you, so many of us are carrying around in our lives, in our hearts. Not just things that have happened recently, but very often things that maybe were part of our childhood. Rejection, non-acceptance by one or both of our parents. A broken heart as we were growing up. Betrayal. Rejections, embarrassments, all of those things. There's so much that we walk around carrying that sometimes we're not even aware of. We all need the healing of being able to forgive. This is a story that was written by Sister Rose McGeady, and it's titled simply Kathy. She came to our front door Tuesday morning, ragged and dirty clothes on her back, and a little aluminum paint can in her arms. From the second she stepped inside, she made it clear to us that she and the paint can were a package deal. Whatever she did, wherever she went, the little paint can never left her hands. When Kathy sat in the crisis shelter, the can sat in her arms. She took the can with her to the cafeteria that first morning she ate, and to bed with her that first night that she slept. When she stepped into the shower, the can was only a few feet away. When she dressed, the can rested alongside her feet. "I'm sorry, this is mine," she told our counselors whenever we asked her about it. "This can belongs to me." "You want to tell me what's in it, Kathy?" I asked her. Not today," and then quietly walk off. When Kathy was sad or angry or hurt, which happened a lot, she took her paint can to a quiet dorm room on the 3rd floor. Many times I'd pass by her room and watch her rock gently back and forth, the can in her arms. Sometimes she'd talk to the paint can in low whispers. Early in the morning, I decided to accidentally run into her again. "Would you like to join me for breakfast?" I asked. "That would be great," she said. We sat in a corner of our cafeteria, talking quietly over the din of 150 ravenous homeless kids. Then I took a deep breath and plunged into it. "Kathy, that's a really nice can. What's in it?" For a long time, Kathy didn't answer. She rocked back and forth, her black hair swaying across her shoulders. Then she looked at me, tears in her eyes. "It's my mother," she said. "Oh," I said. "What do you mean, it's your mother?" "It's my mother's ashes," she said. "I went and got them from the funeral home. See, I even asked them to put a label right here on the side. It has her name on it." Kathy held the can up before my eyes. A little label on the side chronicled all that remained of her mother: date of birth, date of death, name. That was it. Then Kathy pulled the can close and hugged it. "I never really knew my mother, sister," Kathy told me. She threw me in the garbage 2 days after I was born. I ended up living in lots of foster homes, mad at my mother. But then I decided I was going to try and find her. I got lucky. Someone knew where she was living. She wasn't there, sister. My mother was in the hospital. She had AIDS. I went to the hospital and I got to meet her the day before she died. My mother told me that she loved me, sister," Kathy said, crying. "That's why I went to get the ashes." I reached out and hugged Kathy, and she cried in my arms for a long, long time. It was tough getting my arms around her because she wouldn't put the paint can down. But she didn't seem to mind. Whatever the hurts, the pains, the disappointments, the losses, God doesn't want us to carry those around. God doesn't want us to have to let the pain keep hurting. Forgiveness can be a very freeing thing. Someone very wise once said, "Forgiveness is a gift that I give to myself." When I look at my past, who I was, what I've been through. God has been with me through it all and brought me to this point today. I'm not who I was however many years ago. And I have to be able to forgive myself of my past. One of my mentors, Father Gene Conkle, God bless him, he said something so wise one time. He said, "Forgiveness begins when we abandon all hope of creating a better yesterday." When I can accept that what was, rather than trying to go back and rewrite the script, rather than punishing myself with, oh, if only I had, or why didn't I, or why didn't they, then forgiveness, healing, true inner peace become possible. It's a great gift. The waters of forgiveness. Christ invites us to drink deeply, that we may have life